Welcome back to the MSI group stage in Berlin and our first tiebreaker game between RNG and the Flash Wolves. The stakes are very high in this matchup as the winner will secure the first seed going into the knockout stage and the ability to choose their opponent for their semifinal matchup. Now, before we get into this tiebreaker itself, I kind of want to get a refresher on the last two times that these teams met up against each other in the group stage, starting with their first game. Obviously,
these guys are in a tiebreaker, so they tied their series. The first time they played, you can see on your screen right here, it was a runaway game by the Flash Wolves. They had Ezreal, remember, double tier was pretty big. You got to see the mid lane Karma game, but it never actually got rolling for RNG in that one. Specifically, the Maokai got so far behind, he'd try and jump into those fights, and the Trundle Cho'Gath would take him down. But RNG has changed their picks a lot since then.
Yeah, and this is one of my huge problems where I kind of hit the brakes on RNG in their draft phase. The fact that Olaf was picked into the Trundle, and that Maokai was picked over an available Ornn. So very questionable decision-making in terms of just the draft from RNG.
And we've seen so many teams moving away from these crit AD carries, right? The Tristana from Uzi never really got a chance to kind of come online because Flash Wolves were playing such a strong, fast-paced game.
Let's move on to game number 2 between these two teams in the group stage. Talk about that one. Obviously, this one fell in favor of RNG.
And I came into the day and I was like, Flash Wolves are about to just get shellacked. RNG are mad. It's time for them to turn on. Immediately, we have return to comfort. It was the return of Uzi's Kog'Maw. It was that priority pick of the Malzahar, the first team in the tournament to really grab that before TL also ran away with it, and they just played more so their style.
Now, interestingly, blue side won both times these teams have previously met, and RNG with side selection did elect for red side.
Right, and I also think both teams have changed a lot since then. This is when Flash Wolves was still trying to counter Kai'Sa with Kog'Maw, and then the first one was when they were still picking Maokai over Ornn. There's also a different jungler in this game to keep in track, so I do feel like both these teams are a better version of themselves now.
And when Flash Wolves have been successful, a lot of it has been due to last picking their support on red side, right? We've seen SwordArt do this time and time again throughout the tournament. And when Uzi is this on point, one of the ways to protect your bottom lane is by kind of having that last pick for the bottom lane. Get the second support pick. Get the advantage down there, because if Uzi's ahead, he seems unbeatable.
Which is why I think that by picking the red side from RNG, it's really going to be about that karma flex if it's able to go through. RNG have done this time and time again. Now the Flash Wolves have pulled it out, and I think that's going to be kind of the big go-to thing to look for in this draft phase.
Well, with the recap behind us, I want to turn our attention to the tiebreaker itself. Let's get your predictions up on the screen. Who's going to win between Flash Wolves and RNG? All three of you have predicted RNG in this one, so I'd like to have the reasoning behind that.
You've come to the dark side. That's fine. I think it's recognizing what Flash Wolves are good at. You know, again, Ezreal was just talking about the counter pick support. They picked the red side. I think the Karma Flex pick is going to come through. Something that's so unique about RNG in the LPL is the depth of their champion pools. They love playing on red side because of this, because anyone can play everything.
And I already entered one prediction for the greater glory of guests, so I've got to go back to it. RNG played such a good game against TL, and I do think they are getting better and better and better. And you can think of some of the ways to attack them. It's like, oh, target Uzi in pick ban, triple ban him, but then you're giving up priority elsewhere on the map, and we saw how damn good Ornn was for Letme. So I do think there's a lot of ways for them to get advantages. You talked about the karma as well. It just feels like they're too hard to punish in pick ban, and when Flash Wolves' strength has also been the bottom lane, I just think RNG's is better.
Jat, being in that unfortunate third position, even though you predicted RNG, I'm going to force you to give me the win conditions here for Flash Wolves.
For Flash Wolves, all right, they're going to have to somehow have more people bottom lane than RNG.
All right,
because the last game, even though RNG took a melee support into range, they ganked it so well that it didn't matter. So it is literally all about splitting the jungle, getting down there, making sure Uzi can't get ahead. But everyone in the LPL tried to do that, and everyone's trying to do that here. It's not that easy.
Implying near impossibility for the Flash Wolves. Let's find out which team secures the first seed as we head over to Freak, Papa Smithy, and Officio for RNG versus Flash Wolves.
Thank you very much. I am beyond excited to be here. The battle for first place. Flash Wolves started out 6-0, dropped 3-0, but came back to take down Kingzone to be here today. So the question is what form they're on. How good are the strategies? How well they figured things out? Meanwhile, you had kind of the opposite story from Royal Never Give Up, where they had a very up and down start, but won a lot towards the end here. And as we saw from the analysts, are now favored.
Yeah, we suddenly see Uzi, of course, carry a lot of games together with Ming from the bot lane, and a lot of focus was around can Flash Wolves maybe stop the bot lane of RNG. I actually want to highlight that Hanabi could be a person that could become the MVP here, because he's been looking really good on carries.
And I absolutely take that point as well, Officio. I was thinking, what about the top side, where 2 games against Kingzone, Hanabi has been able to play champions. We didn't really measure up to this sort of tank champion pool that he was playing the majority of this tournament. So the top side could be more spicy than perhaps we've been led to believe.
And here we go as the Kha'Zix is banned away. No Kai'Sa allowed for Uzi as well. Of course, not a champion that Betty's been keen to play. That is going to be a tax on their champion pool and their draft phase for the rest of this tournament. As we know, both these teams are secured to be the high seeds in the semifinals, fighting for first place and the choice of which team they fight. Now, no Vladimir for Xiaohu.
Let's talk about why RNG went red side for themselves here. Karma being one of them. It was touched on by the analyst desk, potential flex pick. I think also the fact that if Trundle gets first pick by Moojin, Mlxg can lock in Graves. And then you have the same kind of game which we saw with Kasa from RNG, but it's all about just trying to invade level 1 and stay ahead as a Graves. And that kind of shuts down Moojin's effectiveness in the jungle. Of course, there's also the third one, which is the option to counter pick for support if you do need a winning bot lane matchup.
It's very difficult for blue side to put enough pressure on to remove the red side last pick from really answering a lot of the sort of strategies that Flash Wolves have been finding core tenets of their victories. The pushing bot lane and the early movements we saw from them against Kingzone were a highlight earlier today. Get the first pick here, and they will actually first pick Gangplank. So it's certainly a Hanabi champion, but not necessarily one he's excelled on compared to the rest of his pool.
But it is a champion where, one, he's obviously able to be a damage dealer on the team, but he brings a global ulti that can impact the bot lane, which can be so important if Flash Wolves want to go all in for that strategy of trying to shut down Uzi and Ming.
Speaking of trying to shut down Uzi, well, here's a Karma for the LPL once again. You expect it to be played, of course, by Xiaohu in the mid lane, but we have seen Ming play it earlier. Either way, it's going to be lots of shields for that puppy dog down in the bottom lane, whether he plays Kog'Maw or not. That is how you refer to Uzi here.
Ezreal is also here. Last time we had Ezreal and Kai'Sa banned on blue side, and then Kog'Maw becomes their priority pick for him, but Ezreal has just been fantastic this tournament.
They get a flex pick that they've already shown they can flex, and one that is core 10 of their victories, and also this champion that does so well in lane and has the earlier power spikes as well. So a very fearsome draft on the red side, may in fact be the entire duo lane. As for Flash Wolves, how will they start to make things happen? They just blind pick both their solo lanes in the first round.
And I wonder if Flash Wolves play the same kind of comp they did just an hour or so ago with 4 squishies and a split pusher, because that did work against Kingzone without a tank at all in the lineup, a thing that we see so rarely, requires you to get ahead, and they're saying with Graves maybe we can do that. We also know that with Betty happy to play Ashe, even if Varus is banned, he's happy to tank some more bans through the second phase.
Yeah, that's enough AD carries for him. I want to see if Mlxg grabs Lee Sin, like he did the last time someone actually grabbed the blind Graves against him. Obviously, we saw earlier today Kingzone, when they saw the situation, they took a Zac, which did not work. He got invaded.
Jungle horribly.
Exactly. That should not be the pick for Mlxg. I think he needs something where he can actually duel the Graves a little bit and defend.
And that scenario is not already written in stone either, because they could have taken the Karma mid lane and had priority. It seems like they're going to take a page from the Team Liquid playbook. The first ones that they showed, the Malzahar jumps onto the Rift again. Very good champion for turning onto a Graves if he goes for an optimistic steal on a jungle camp.
All right, well, Xiaohu going to go back to that Malzahar he brought out, MSI, and Liquid said, you made this, I made this. We like these champions too, and it's almost been synonymous with Poe Belter, but this could give RNG a lot of tools now. Zoe does not innately have good ways of outplaying a Malzahar.
And also looking at these bans here, Frick, you already highlighted Varus, Kog'Maw being one of the other ones. We get the Lee Sin ban that we just talked about for Mlxg. If he's on a ganking jungler and you have Malzahar mid lane, it is a very strong combination to shut down a Zoe, which we have seen during this tournament that you can really gank hard, and it's very difficult to escape with Zoe's ulti.
And even this decision of when do you pick up the QSS, a struggle that we've seen most teams not have full answers to. Earlier Zoe against a Skarner that time delayed the QSS and then was attacked relentlessly. Alistair ban actually comes out here against SwordArt's famous roaming support.
So of course have the Ornn as well. That was a huge pick for Letme in the game we just watched before here. Fantastic engages on his side, works extremely well against poke champions, just due to the safety and the range. So that should be the choice for him, and then they can still go for junglers unless there's some reason they would actually save top lane pick, but they already see the GP.
Yeah, I don't think that Gangplank is flexing to support or something, so seems a likely spot there. I would expect to see a top lane pick up, and either way, the Flash Wolves put their bans actually at early game junglers that might match Moojin's pressure, getting rid of the Lee Sin and Olaf, hoping that they put Mlxg onto a tank, even the reasonably fast ones, but no, he still goes for a fighter. The Zhao is here. to try to match up with that.
And second time we've seen Zhao this tournament trying to attack strong jungles. That was into Olaf. Now we see it against the Graves in this particular game. Moojin playing it earlier this tournament in a loss. Let's see how Mlxg does. He played this in the LPL a couple of times.
We might just get the Janna plus Ashe bot lane from Flash Wolves that worked very well last time. Oh, they're actually going for Soraka. They want that advantage over the Karma here. Soraka was so good first day, and then she just completely disappeared.
And it's several globals now for Flash Wolves. Gangplank and Soraka, both from 6 onwards, can affect any fight anywhere on the map. And we'll see if a split push ends up being a really big deal because of that.
Gotta say, it plays into the Ornn once again because of the ability to actually get to the back line with some CC threat. We'll see what the decision will be here. On paper, a self-counter pick, but you can potentially get the all-in lane, whether you go for the Grasp or into the Unsealed Spellbook Ignite. So the self-counter pick, but what it provides against the Soraka and the backline threat will cause disarray around the very squishy core of Flash Wolves. There is no tank on the blue side.
It's gonna be so fun to look at this game here in the early game. Flash Wolves with their Graves, which become a priority pick for a lot of teams because of how strong you are in the early game and how effective you are at invading and fighting around these walls in the jungle. But as we highlighted with Mlxg, he was not looking to grab a tank for himself and just look at all his camps disappear. No, he wanted something where he could actually fight back, especially with Zhao, who's level 6. That 2v2 skirmish around the mid lane, it will kill anyone.
It absolutely will. There is no big health bar on the side of Flash Wolves at all. A bit of time bought maybe from Soraka if she's in range for the W, if not just the Wish. But still so many prime targets and a lot of good crowd control on RNG's side. This game is going to be volatile. You pick a squishy team, you've got to get ahead, and if you do, it looks great. But if you get behind, nothing can withstand the hard engage. Now, we know these teams are number 1 and 2 out of the group stage, but they're fighting for seeding. They're fighting for the option to dodge the scariest semifinal teams here. Everyone expects that to be King Zone that you want to dodge, but it is, of course, up to them.
It almost feels like we're playing for the winners to come together in a semifinal. Very likely the winner of this game chooses the winner of our second tiebreaker. No guarantees, in King Zone looking more fallible than anyone could have guessed, but on paper, that's our expectation.
And now it is time to get into this one. The cheers are here again. The home crowd, mostly all for Royal Never Give Up, who have been pretty delightful despite a couple of early shakes in the beginning of this group stage, but have looked on form recently. Uzi's been big. The rest of the team has rallied around him quite well, though. And Ezreal for Uzi. Ezreal's been a huge champion so far at MSI 2018. And Uzi's been massive in his own right. Here we are, 30 seconds in. First place tiebreaker.
Hard to imagine this level 1 isn't action-packed. We already see Ming and Mlxg rushing into lane to try to get as much information as possible. Both these junglers looking for a nice start.
It's always the same we see with the Graves. You walk in and you want to get a ward on red buff. Moojin is actually starting with the sweeper in case he needs to deny any vision away from the enemy team. On his side, though, it is kind of just Hanabi who can actually ward the red buff. And you see Letme is sitting ready. I'm actually so glad we've had a lot of these different level 1s during the tournament, because sometimes you just end up not having anything to talk about for a couple of minutes. Here it's like, oh, where did they move in? Do they ward the red buff or not? When do they do it? And this time, it is Hanabi's turn to do it.
2018 meta certainly has been passive at this point. The ward was placed in a different spot than you might have expected, but will eventually be spotted out.
That's why he started sweeper.
Yeah, sweeper duration there. The moment he saw the sweeper, that's why the ward was placed in a different spot than usual, but still cleared out by the Graves.
So trading damage back and forth. Mlxg just going to go for the solo on the blue buff. They know about it, but it's not going to matter as Uzi and Ming get the early pressure. Hanabi, she pushed out a tri-brush, but yeah, okay, grits his teeth and survives Letme. This is the this time around going to be Klepto on the Gangplank. You typically see Grasp in the hard matchups you want to survive.
Also here, Freak want to go straight down to the bot lane, because what's happening here is that Ming and Uzi wanted to be in lane instantly level 1, so they could actually getting some control in case Mlxg needs to invade the enemy bot side jungle. For now, he is just doing his own Raptor camp, or Wolf camp, sorry, while Moojin is stealing away the Raptors. So the Graves gets his preferred start, take away enemy camps on top side, and now he has plenty of time to go down bot lane, so Mlxg is set behind.
2017 Worlds meta of rushing to the second brush in the bot lane and making sure no one was camping it to get in position to prime the minions and get the roll onto level 2, and thus the pushing advantage.
Mlxg making the smart choice, knowing and actually seeing where Graves is going. He's going to go for the scuttle real quick first, but He might have license to grab the blue buff away and manage to split the jungle. This time around, sort of cross-shaped jungling. It's vertical for the Graves, and wow, Mlxg looking to make top lane hell.
This man has never needed level 3, Deficio. He loves his level 2 ganks.
He has to charge.
Especially. Yeah, he's got the knockup, he's got a quick slow. Gonna be landing that third auto attack. No, an early flash. Hanabi wanted to not be killed off, but it's still summoned her down.
Another advantage about the Zhao pick here is the early gank potential for him, but it does mean he's not stealing away any camps from Moojin, and Moojin has grabbed another Raptor camp. He's grabbed his own red buff, will now get all 3 camps on top side. Mlxg, this is kind of what he's known for. He likes to go for these extremely risky plays, and if you don't expect it and you end up dying to it, he looks fantastic.
He's a gambler. He loves to opt into some of these paths that you just never would have. He never tries to min-max like most people do when it comes to farm. Does give up a blue buff refresh, but still finds level 3 and still going to try to be powering through his jungle and then looking for some of those games.
Just getting his farm up and everything else. Of course, that scuttle was taken. And the quick reset means Challenging Smite is in the inventory of Mlxg now, so he's in a decent spot, but only has Gromp to kill before those Raptors respawn in about 40 seconds. Now it's Moojin's turn to walk top side. I think maybe expecting something cheeky out of the fact that Hanabi is shoving so hard right now. Sneaking out a second brush going to be possible for Graves here.
Yeah, normally just here to provide safety and counter gang potential, but if Letme goes for an all-in, there's a chance.
They've got 2 slows onto him. The chase then is there, and he's going to have to flash away. So a trade of summoners finally. Hanabi no longer so afraid of this top side.
Moojin gets to push the wave out as well. Meanwhile, bot lane.
And the flash forward, the Ignited Zion's going to take the Qs, and that's going to be SwordArt blocking it up with barrier on. Keeps Betty alive. Good clutch play out of the Soraka.
Yeah, you got to think so fast here, SwordArt. Okay, they're going for the all-in, block all the different skill shots.
Speaking of all-ins,
Letme's gonna have to work this one. A huge knockup! He's all in for this one, and now that's gonna be pushed away. Now a double slow onto the bot side. Betty is quite low, and they don't find the turret aggro. A double kill on the bot side. Mlxg after Uzi gets 1.
Execution on top side so difficult because Graves can't do damage reliably if Letme stands behind this turret, as the nature of those Graves AoE auto attacks. In the bot side though, Zhao is easy to execute. They get the double kill, they get out. Huge lead for RNG.
And we just talked about Mlxg's playstyle when behind is often just look for some of these plays and look for some of these ganks. He looks to the bottom lane. There's no camp for him to take otherwise except for the Crux, but he's fine. He doesn't need it because he can go for kills.
He was spotted on the Hawk shot, but there really wasn't many options. They actually got a redemption. We didn't see that off screen coming from the mid lane. Thank you, Zoe. But the moment that the wave was grouped, there's no exit from Betty. No summoners left up to contest this. Very nicely done by RNG.
And I really don't like that they walked so far from the turret. Zhao got to pull aggro and walk out of it so quickly. I think you have to assume you go for a trade kill there, make them take aggro in melee range and go for that Soraka silence and root.
Well, right now, this draft, this plan for Flash Wolves, it's kind of falling apart, and we're only 6 minutes into the game. They wanted the Soraka bot lane against Karma. They grabbed the Ashe for Betty. Look at the CS. Almost down 20 CS, 22 to be precise here. Uzi is just sitting behind the minion wave, poking them, and yeah, they can get a bit of vision in the enemy jungle. Do not fully spot Mlxg.
And why we have to focus on that, Deficio, is consider the first round of the draft. They blind pick both solo laners and their jungler to allow an entire bot lane to be selected after 4 champions were locked in by RNG. And then that lane is getting dominated. The draft and the play by RNG, Flash Wolves really needed to make this double range lane work, but the moment that you add in the Ashe, it was going to get difficult to actually win 2v2, and the jungler just kind of ended the trading phase.
It's clearly just so hard to win these lanes against Uzi and Ming, and it's also the second game in a row where we see Ming flash forward on this support, aggressive, looking for 2v2 kills. It forced Betty and SwordArt back under the turret. Got a couple of summoners, and that allowed Mlxg, despite being down a level, to show up and then execute the tower dive. Great start from RNG. They're once again reacting so fast to what's happening on the map.
Wow, and this turret is so low already. Only 7 minutes into the game. Anytime Zhao shows up, they can dive and knock it down. Even the 2-on-2, it might simply be enough. This is huge advantage out of that bot side right now, and Flash Wolves have yet to find their answer. A comp that is so hard to play from behind. They're all squishy. This could be absolutely massive for RNG. Take that first seed and send a message on this win.
Big change in pace for Maple. Very early QSS, even before a lost chapter, so he can have lane presence post-6 if they don't have vision of the enemy jungle. 7 minutes into the game, we're already going to see the gold. It's going to be solo gold on Uzi. It always is. Uzi getting bigger and bigger. Look at this, a 2,000 gold lead.
I mean, he's more than double Betty's money right now. It's actually ludicrous how far ahead Uzi is right now. Of course, the ganks help. First turret, all the farm, 39 to 75. It's almost double the CS on top of this one. This is probably the biggest mismatch I've seen all MSI.
Yeah, and he's already playing an AD carry that will be fantastic in the mid game on its own. Now you're so far ahead of the enemy AD carry who's stacking crit items. It's going to be insane how much Uzi can do once he gets his 2 items, and he's going to get them quick.
Everything Flash Wars prioritized has been turned against them, with the bot lane losing so handedly. Game may not be decided, but if RNG continue on this pace, making controlled aggression plays that didn't look likely 4 days ago, they will be our first seed team in MSI.
Royal never give up. What a great run they've had so far into this. Now looking for Moojin the flash. They've got the open. They've got all of the damage they could possibly need. Mlxg getting the kill on this. And he's here to make sure Uzi says, I might want that red buff. Fighting the top side as Letme pushes back Hanabi as well.
Talked about this in Champ Select. When you have level 6 from your Malzahar with the ulti, and then you add in a champ like Zhao, there's a lot of damage coming against a lot of squishy champs, and all Xiaohu needed to do was just flash forward and click R, and then Mlxg could finish the job.
And that time it needs 2 flashes. If you can keep pushing this vision forward and you face check a Zhao, he can start with his Q and have his audacious charge up for the gap close. He can do the work himself as well. Full damage expected out of Mlxg, and RNG still pushing on the bot side.
Oh, another dive.
Oh, Hanabi. He's got a trinket ward. He smells this, and now he's got to run. Ooh, nice job getting rid of the barrel. Mlxg, will he go for the slow? Yes, but now right in front of Graves. Underneath the turret, 2 versus 3. They've got the burst damage. They should be able to take him out, and he oversteps himself. But Maple will not find the Drowsy. That bubble will not get his target. Well, not anything more to pick up.
At least one sighting of Mlxg before this game is over. Went for the super aggressive dive at 9 minutes into the game with multiple people off the map and not showing. That one was
that's when you're confident in your lead. Uzi and Ming sadly could not really help him once everyone ended up showing up from Flashwell's side, but that is the first kill for them. They are very far away from getting anything else on the bottom side, and most importantly for RNG, Uzi still farming. He's going to hit 100 CS very soon.
Yeah, this wave is going to be it. Nope, just kidding. He's going to back off. So get that later on in the game, but we can watch this dive again. And Mlxg, I want to see when he notices.
I mean, Hanabi shows that he knows by starting to walk away earlier than ever. Teleport comes through from the mid laner, and yeah, that one was optimistic by Mlxg.
Can't completely blame him, but you're right. Graves is suddenly right there. And yeah, you take a lot of risks, and sometimes they do, of course, backfire. Blue buff will be handed over to the Flash Wolves mid. Maple gets that one without any worries.
And to be fair, Mlxg did trade his life for a TP. A full cooldown teleport now from Maple, so he will definitely call it worth. And I mean, generally, if you can trade 1 kill for a TP, you're going to take that. Like, you don't mind your jungler dying then.
Yeah, so he can play run that power spike. Of course, that timing. When he's making fun of junglers, Papa Smithy doesn't seem to agree, by the way. I think
TP for a kill? Yeah, you're definitely taking
it. Can be debatable. I would generally take the kill, but you know what, Officio? You played on the EULCS. I didn't.
I'll take reasons that the game might slow down for RNG for 500, because it felt like anything else they did, they would have
Oh, he flashed onto it. He's dead. He's so dead. He's gone. Moojin gets the kill.
Did he just flash in place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not dwell on it.
That one is not worth it.
But he got the arrow on cooldown.
That's worth it, right, Officio?
Yeah, sure, same cooldown, of course. Rift L getting started, guys. Focus on the game, that's important.
But these are the picks that Flash Wolves need to get back in, though. These long-range ultimates and the stuns. And we talked about his Ashe last game when he was up against the Tom Kent. He was up against Yasuo when these arrows are going to be hard to land. This time around, other than Malzahar, there's only good targets for an Ashe arrow. You can chase down those targets. So these kinds of picks are what Flash Wolves need. Long-range bubbles from Maple, arrows from Betty, and those double global ultimates of Hanabi and SwordArt. Let's see if they can make this happen. Nice pick up there. The Raptors went over on the blue side.
Letme continues to build for lane. He's got an Iceborne Gauntlet to keep the trading decent against the Gangplank, keep him honest. Mlxg top side to help Uzi. They want to make a second turret here, RNG.
Won't get it just yet, though. There's not quite that same threat of dive. SwordArt still has Wish and Barrier, and Betty's got Heal. Difficult to kill these champions sometimes. Still, Uzi is safe and he can get some damage. Doesn't mind to take one auto attack on a shield on him.
Uzi is so far ahead in terms of items. Betty just sitting on that Warhammer. We do have Mabel moving around. There's no wards behind. RNG, but they don't really need to worry too much. It's only GP that can TP in, and Letme can match that. Same for Xiaohu.
And I gotta mention that RNG have much less control around the river than you might expect with the lead they have. With Malzahar able to roam through, usually you want to get wards either aggressively or down the river with control wards to stop there from being any collapse from the Flash Wolves when you try to take the secondary turret. The Flash Wolves are able to pretty happily roam through. And that means that RNG's push is a bit slower.
All right, let's see. Betty's arrows are so good that it forces you to flash in place.
The mind games, Deficio.
He's smart.
Unless he was being so selfless, he's like, Uzi, you can save your arcane shift. I'll take the arrow.
Save your mana, my friend. Save your mana.
For Uzi. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I wish more players would flash on arrows for me. Deficio, we should do it sometime.
Oh, I would never flash that for you.
Okay.
I would start flaming you the moment you get hit.
I thought the NA versus EU banter would be in the next game. We're just giving a bit of a preview to our viewers.
Early. All right, this is still, of course, a very good game. 3,000 gold does put World Never Go up ahead, and they are looking to keep this push going against such a hard comp to play from behind for Flash Wolves. Most of these dives can work out, and these picks can work great.
Yeah, well, we've seen 2 good picks now for Flash Wolves, one on Mlxg and one on Ming. Uzi is still just farming, and same for Xiaohu. Like, their CS numbers are fantastic right now, so we're still kind of just waiting for RNG to make the next play around the bot lane. I think Uzi's just getting a little bit annoyed that everyone is dying around him. Letme might die here. Ah, he's fine.
And he's going to go walk away with that. Not enough crowd control here for the team. Inferno Drake spawning in 5 seconds, and you have to expect World Never Give Up wants that. They've kept their dual lane top side, though. Typically, you see them come down to the other side of the map. They're going to be prioritizing the turret over that neutral right now, and they will claim that prize.
I do know that Uzi's build path is like praise when it comes to his double tier. Ezreal is going for the Trinity Force as his second item. Flash Wolves have no frontliners, and usually Iceborne gauntlets to kite tanks and to open space from your enemies. Uzi's going to be using his Arcane Shift aggressively, and the Trinity Force damage will help it out.
Let's see if Flash Wolves can do something bot side while Uzi is still sitting top. It is difficult because he brings TP, as we've seen so often from Ezreal here, so he can just constantly move around the map. Mlxg, he wants to fight.
2v1 on a Hanabi. He's going to try to find some way out of this one. He's not going to dodge the knockup. It was a predict on the flash, and he held it. So he's able to actually walk away, and now Soraka is here. Mlxg pops the ult to get away, and now Xiaohu's here. He's going to find SwordArt. That could be easy to kill, but first they're going for the front line. And can they get the burst?
Uzi's here.
Not just yet. Uzi joins in from the backside. There's one kill picked up, but a drowsy champion could be a kill. They can't find the autos, though, as 2 kills now picked up, and Hanabi has nowhere to escape to. This Gangplank is certain to die. Into the depths you go, getting revenge for everything he tried to gank earlier on. Buying a lot of time, finally does go down. Uzi making that one happen. 6-2 now on the scoreboard. Nothing lost by RNG.
Yeah, no risk from RNG. They can walk up as Maple tries to make an escape here very easily because Uzi has the teleport. They'll always outnumber, and all Ashe is getting is a bit of free time farming on the top side of the map.
Well, that happened. Betty was sitting top lane, but he doesn't even get to fully push in the wave before he needs to recall, knowing that Letme can just show up towards the lane. So RNG, they started the fight with Mlxg's gank, and they react instantly, and never feels good to have to place your Rift Herald all the way in your own base.
I mean, all the big tools from Flash Wolves are being used reactively. We haven't seen a turret dive with a cannon barrage. We're seeing the Rift Herald summoned as shallow as possible. So they're not able to impact the movement of RNG like they were able to King Zone. That means the gold lead just grows, and sadly, even with free time, the Ashe is 50 CS behind the Ezreal.
Difficulties abound for Flash Wolves. They get a bit of turret damage because they were able to stay topside and grab the Rift Herald. But World Never Go Up. It's just a story of this team who has catapulted their way upwards in the standings by the back half of the group stage and are poised to look like that #1 team.
It just feels like TP Ezreal is the dream for Uzi, because if I have one criticism for RNG, it's that their 1-3-1 setups are often, how can we get Uzi the most farm? With the teleport, he can instantly collapse himself and go for that farm, and so we go.
And they're going to collapse out of the mid lane. There's the knockup. The kill comes in. Mlxg grabs it for 300 gold. Betty low on health, and SwordArt a brush from death as well. 6,000 gold ahead. World Never Go Up, staying in the mid lane for a little bit longer, grabbing that farm. They have control of the side of the map. Top lane, there's a wave on the turret as well. They're going to wait for the next wave mid and go for this turret here.
They have control over everything, and they have such a good composition to keep forcing fights. Letme gets the Ornn again, and he can start the engages here. Xiaohu comes in from the flank, times it with the Ornn ulti, and then there's nothing you can do as Flash Wolves because you're just locked in place.
Nice try by Maple. Only tags a minion here. Looking for a little bit of burst, but Uzi answered that back so cleanly with the Q. World Never Go Up, just getting more and more of this map. 7,000 now their lead. And They have played not only around Uzi, but everyone else. Mlxg, they thought they could push him down on his champions, grab the Graves, ban the other aggressive ones, and he says, no, I'll take Zhao, and has had a pretty damn good game. The ganks have come through, KP of 5.
And really is a fantastic story for RNG this split. Like, it was a very rough regular season, entering the playoffs as one of the lowest seeds, but then made it all the way through to the final. And now we get to see here at MSI, they've really figured out what kind of drafts they want to play. Ornn, Malzahar, big picks for them, and of course Uzi wins every single lane with Ming at the moment.
Definitely being on fire outside of that first Team Liquid game, and then we get to games like this where this momentum-based draft from Flash was really honestly predicated on Moojin being able to dictate to Mlxg, but the farthest point away from that, being able to make positive moves is one Ashe arrow burst. The Ashe arrow doesn't work, the game plan kind of falls apart, and it feels like RNG decided everything that happens on the Rift.
Yeah, so they didn't get to win in the jungle, then maybe down the bot lane with the Ashe Soraka pick. They are kind of hoping that Betty and SwordArt can match or maybe beat Uzi and Ming, but that wasn't even close in this game here. We've now seen a few teams try this, see if they can get a superior matchup on the bottom side and see if they can shut down RNG's bot lane. And Uzi and Ming, they say, nope, we can win every single lane.
They don't quite stop that Graves recall. Moojin gets back and building toward a couple of defensive spots, but it's a garage sale build for him. Just pieces of equipment. Randuin's Omen already done for Mlxg. He will withstand damage easily. They're going to find that stun once again. Ming walks in to tank it.
He's the greatest support.
Uzi could have flashed it, but Ming decides to die.
This time we can't deny he was actually cleaning up after his AD carries mess. Uzi not going to use his flash defensively in this game, it seems.
Oh, actually, Uzi was he was asleep during it, from what I could see.
Oh, I missed that, okay.
Had landed a bubble onto him. To be fair, he was hiding in the brush, so it was kind of unnoticeable. Let's see bot lane.
Meanwhile, hiding in the brush isn't going to matter for Hanabi. That's going to be a quick 3v1 kill. Xiaohu gets the kill credit, and a bit of help from the rest of the team as well. Looks like Ezreal gave some attack speed, so Uzi gets kill participation.
Only good news story is there's no objectives for RNG to pick up on the bot side, so it's only going to be a kill and backing away. Ashe continues to be a side lane threat, already a disaster when it comes to what they wanted to do with this draft. As he piles on the numbers, he's always ahead of the clock, but sometimes he gets to marks that really make you turn your head.
A lot of people, of course, looking towards the playoffs. Always highlight Kingzone and the Korean teams in a best of 5, but this RNG team here are really showing different kind of drafts, a lot of different picks from each player. And they're showing that all of them are actually performing at a very, very high level. So they, if they can lock down this game, of course, be their first seed. See with this replay from before, Uzi gets hit, I believe, by the bubble. Actually, he might just step into it then. When he jumps back, oh, just the very, very last second
really,
there.
Yeah, and he just stands in front. And he says, okay, I will lie for your mistake. That was Uzi misclicking his arcane shift and taking the drowsy. And Ming loses the KDA for it. True support. Pour one out for Ming. But now he's back in action. He's got Ardent Sensor, not even upgrading his boots, but he's here to play Vision Control for Baron. Already being attacked, actually.
Another true support rushing that Ardent Sensor. See if RNG can set up around Baron. 21 minutes in. Last game, they looked very good around the big objectives. Uzi, as we highlighted earlier, not only is he winning lane, he's also on Ezreal, who spikes so hard on these two items. He can do whatever he wants.
And Mlxg is so far ahead, and they feel like they're so far ahead that he's going for initiating build. He's going for the Audacious charge into the Randuins. He already has Randuins this early into the game, so snowball tankiness rather than the snowball damage we usually respect.
Oh, they're not doing anything. There we go.
Suppressed, QSS on, gets silenced again though, and the flash to chase forward, the slows are in. Nothing SwordArt could do in time. Great kill picked up.
Good vision control. Papa Smithy, they will grab a top lane turret.
Easily. No map controls. Uzi does have the QSS now. He's turning.
Does it immediately. They've got a lot of crowd control. Moojin not quite knocked up. Ready to buy some time. Uzi in the front line, but he gets attacked for it. Then a half HP has to run away. Also with the cannon barrage. Turret's going to fall though, but this could still be a precarious dive. Not a lot of places to go.
Still pushing the top side of RNG. Uzi a bit too ready to go when it comes to the front lining on the Ezreal, but backs away, and RNG bringing a huge minion wave.
Shield is on to Uzi. They're going for a lot of damage here onto this turret. Done a half right now. Hanabi forced to kite back. Looking for volley, looking for damage. Betty's still going to stay up, but the turret is gone. And RNG with the mantra Inspire Shield going to run right back out.
All right, they get that turret here. Baron was not touched during this fight, but the vision around it was important to create the first pick onto Mabel, which then set up another fight around that mid lane with Uzi. All of RNG can go back, full reset, get all your control wards once again. and then go to Baron. I think Flashwolves' only hope is to steal the Baron and secure a big win in a team fight around it.
While we had a Baron stealing day yesterday, seems very far away from that today, as RNG are one of the teams that have shown very much improved setups around the big purple worm. Items here still really smart, and a couple QSSs to go with a 9,000 gold disadvantage on the side of Flashwolves. See what the pickup is on the back here from Uzi. Might just be the entire Archangel staff.
A lot of money in his inventory.
I mean, right now he has over 11,000 gold in total, and Betty is just hitting 7,000.
Yep.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
And again, the Ashe Soraka was picked after the lane here, so it was certainly picked for a win, and it's the farthest from it.
Well played. I mean, this is one of the best bot lanes in the world, if not the very best, for a reason. And even with counterpick, very few players could ever hope to withstand what Uzi and Ming can do in that bottom lane. They're going to find a Drowsy here, still has the QSS available this time. And there will not be any follow-through anyway. 4 people on that side of the map. Looking for the next push right now is Royal Never Give Up.
I do wonder what the learnings is for the next team to face RNG in the best place, specifically on blue side, because the Karma or the Ezreal, which one do you ban? You'd love to ban both, but there's other things. The Karma allows them to be a bit more free with their choices when it comes to the counter pick on the red side. We'll leave off the theoreticals, because it's all about the real stuff right now.
Letme does not yet sound the horn, but Ghost is in. Also, Shirelius. Now comes the attempt at the play. SwordArt a bit low, but is he an easy enough target? Redemption buys enough time. Out they go. A couple ults down.
A very important disengage from Flashwolves. Great smoke screen coming in from Moojin. We actually stopped Xiaohu from flashing forward and just holding on to someone like SwordArt. That now means Flashwolves buy a little bit extra time for themselves, but RNG are still in full control. Mlxg looking for more. You kind of just need to see Xiaohu flash forward with that ult.
There's actually that ward sitting alive inside that pit as well. Now it's killed, so now it's darkness here. RNG starting up the Baron. Of course, pretty easy with Malzahar and everyone else. So can Flashwolves face check this? Can they stop it? It's getting burned down so fast. Cannon Barrage actually going to force them back, so a few seconds earned. Also a Drowsy onto Mlxg. Not going to matter.
Very disciplined choice by RNG. They know they can pull away and still have pick tools like the Malzahar flash ulti.
Oh, they see him.
Oh, doesn't quite get that angle though, and it spits out of the wall. But the wind lane wave is cleared, so it's a bit more time that Flashwolves can buy for themselves. Makes Uzi sit back and clear the wave. And Maple has to give up this one, as you might have to start playing for this Baron yet again. RNG setting it up continually.
Bot lane could also be a problem. Giant wave getting pinged by both teams at the moment. They keep buying a bit of time here with the Ashe, shooting in the hawk shot to see what's going on. And at this point here, RNG can just rush it down.
And they're not going to face check. There's too much threat right now. Flashwolves going to get it away. Need to go for a turret kill. But Baron will be secured. Royal Never Give Up going to grab that one. And Uzi, oh, they're going to look for the re-engage. Knockup only finds a single one. But is there a follow-through from Xiaohu? Gets the silence. He's going to go for the ulti. Flashes in. And he tries to bait the QSS. Doesn't get that one to happen, but flash out from Maple. Now looking for the next one. Moojin running out of help, jumps over the wall. Uzi still in the chase, jumps right in. He's going to try to find that kill, but Wish buys some time. And they might get one Drowsy, not just yet. They've got SwordArt, the barrier pop, and the kill comes through. And the back lane going to fall. That's Graves. And everyone else just kind of dropping and running away. Gangplank was the one to actually die. Moojin still stuck on the wrong side of this fight, though. As Betty jumps the wall. Only 2 will die, but Baron dead means there's so much more for RNG to push. The wave's already here for bot lane.
And RNG gallop from all directions looking for kills. They show a lot of respect. They wait out cooldowns. The Baron take was once again immaculate. Mlxg chased away from one inhibitor, but 4 members looking to crack another.
And this is definitely a dead inhibitor. 5 seconds on SwordArt, 15 on Hanabi. On that Gangplank at the top side. Base cracked open, 13,000 gold ahead. Uzi just pops the QSS, walks away. He's not going to be a target here. Royal Never Give Up, not going to give up anything. I couldn't find another word.
Well, Hanabi, he wanted to find a ward he could TP on, but sadly for him, there is nothing behind RNG, so Flashwolves cannot chase and try and get any sort of advantage for themselves. They are so far down in gold. Luckily for them, they're already locked in playoffs, and this is purely for first place with this tiebreaker, and it's just the Baron getting rushed into a great engage from Letme once again on the Ornn. Massive pick for RNG.
They come from all directions, a flying V almost. Xiaohu, Mlxg, Uzi all approaching from different angles. That means that Maple has no breathing room to look for paddle stars or look for the trouble bubble. Uzi gets in the front line, and while they don't instantly kill anyone, Letme is unkillable himself, and it just felt like it was an inevitable cleanup from RNG.
And I am in love with Xiaohu going for the flash E, trying to bait Quicksilver Sash.
Yeah.
And Maple just held his nerve. I really thought that was going to be a forced QSS and ult. It was almost beautiful, even though it didn't mean much. Either way, 2 for 0 plus the inhibitor, still a great fight for Royal.
I gotta say, RNG just impressed us so much with the way they're playing, because if we look at this team historically, they've always had very skilled players, but always seem to lack something in the macro part. Like, it'd be very messy games, a lot of fighting happening. But I really feel like, especially here at MSI, we're seeing some really clean games from them. When they get the advantage, they fully understand how to set up for Baron properly, and they're just not giving teams a lot of ways back in the game.
And all this set up in half a split. That's when Uzi joined the team after that Chinese New Year holiday. They come in, they develop a very long run in the playoffs, but eventually the champions. You're seeing the fruits of their labor now at MSI.
And of course, we'll see more from the labor of both these teams here. Flash Wolves will almost inevitably be the #2 seed heading into the knockout stage, the semifinals here at MSI 2018. We'll never give up. With this fight, might claim that #1 stage. They've evaporated one. They're going to look for the second. They've got that a double for Uzi, looking for #3. He's going to find it. Can he get more? As the rest of the team is forced to run out of, he gets rid of some of the minions, but just runs away from his base. Now Maple has an extra flash to burn to get away. The knockup not going to land at a Letme. And the kill time is going to time out anyway, but they might just get that 4th one anyway. He does. The unofficial Quadra is in. And Gangplank will just run and hide. Nothing to defend. Royal never give up. Make the run through the back half of the group stage. They will claim the #1 seed, crushing Flash Wolves under their heel. And they will have their choice of semifinal opponent.
And it was pure domination from RNG in this game. They win the bot lane. We have in the mid lane, the Malzahar pick's been huge also for Xiaohu. Great start from him to go with Mlxg on that Xin Zhao. So just a good pick and ban phase, but even better execution in-game from RNG.
And I'm not looking to get into greater than chains, but I just think about 2 games between Flash Wolves and Kingzone, and 2 games between Flash Wolves and RNG, where they've been dominated in their last 2 games from very early in the piece. Meanwhile, Flash Wolves have had the tools to make Kingzone look ordinary themselves.
Yeah, that's really the biggest thing here for RNG. Now they can pick who they get to face, and if we're looking at the teams in playoffs, we know it's Kingzone, we know it's Flash Wolves, and then it's either Team Liquid or Fnatic. If you're RNG, you're most likely looking towards one of those. You just dodged Kingzone in a semifinal by winning this tiebreaker.
Yep, and of course they're going to dodge Flash Wolves as well for what that's worth, because you can't pick them. Not that it was all that relevant here. So it all comes down to the next match on stage, the end of the group stage, Fnatic versus Team Liquid for who is that 4th seed. The team that we expect RNG to pick as their first opponent. Up to them to decide, of course. But that's going to be the next one here. Who's going to round out that bracket stage?
We need to celebrate RNG for their victory here and what they've achieved. They started slow. They didn't even look convincing in that win over Fnatic on the first day. But just like so many teams who fell away for a time, they've come back stronger. They still play through Uzi, but everyone else is picking up their role in a way that makes you feel like they're the well-oiled machine that other teams were hyped up to be.
Yeah, and we have to remember they only arrived in Berlin the day before we started the MSI group stages, were of course a bit delayed with their travel. So the first few days being a bit slower, we can definitely excuse that based on things like jet lag and getting used to Europe and Berlin specifically. The last few days, they've looked like the clear-cut best team, and that's of course why they sit as #1 now.
And you think about it, it's on the back of a lot of players. It's not Uzi 1v9. He's not carrying in spite of his team, though a great player he is. It is all of RNG playing well around him. Sure, Xiaohu is happy to keep playing the Karma and just give him that support, but it can go elsewhere, and you can put him on a bigger carry like a Malzahar to make the picks and make the big plays. Letme's been pretty good on the Ornn recently, and Mlxg you can push down his champion pool, and he still looks good on something like Xin Zhao, so a fun team to watch out for, the #1 seed of the group stage. But now, for more on how RNG did secure that first seed, let's head down to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. After day 2, we had said it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Flash Wolves, they started strong, and RNG finished in dominating fashion here. I mean, taking down Flash Wolves here in their final tiebreaker for the first seed. The Ezreal and the Karma go over to Uzi and Ming, and it's all over from there.
And it was almost comical how far ahead Uzi got. in these last 2 games. He was 100 CS above the enemy AD carry at 23 minutes.
Before even, it was like 22 or something. It was insane.
Back home in the LPL, Uzi would say, "Da ba wo, come and beat me." The thing is that he was the superstar of the LPL. He stood up and said, "I am the face of this region." And we had so many super AD carries come into our league. Jackulov and iBoy, the international stage should know. And Uzi just tossed them around, toyed with them.
You talk about this CS lead built by Uzi, but it is important to acknowledge that it is a duo in the bot lane. Ezreal, I want to hand it off to you to talk about Ming and Uzi together.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just so impressed with Ming, both against TL, but also here. And the early stage of this lane, it's Ming hitting Q after Q after Q on SwordArt. SwordArt not able to hit a single attack back. Even in just the first couple waves, SwordArt has already had to use 2 potions. He hasn't even hit a spell. He hasn't even hit an auto attack on Ming. Ming is sidestepping every single thing and hitting every single Q. This is a bottom lane that was picked to counter what RNG is playing, and when you get straight up outplayed that hard, it doesn't matter what the matchup is, you can't win.
Yeah, and I love how they work in tandem with Ming pushing them off the wave, and that creates space for Uzi to poke with Q. They get them pretty low and actually are up about 20 CS by the time the Xin dives them about a minute later. So just an incredibly impressive laning phase. And yes, Uzi is amazing, but you do have to give credit to Ming.
I mean, just ultimately a show of mastery. And again, as we've talked about, what this results in for Uzi, even in those initial minutes, is an incredible CS lead. The fastest first turret take of the entire MSI group stage from just these 2 guys. Of course, there was that little dive that came through from the Zhao as well, but just utter domination, starting in the bot lane and then rolling all the way across the top of the map.
And you see this all the time. RNG will always give the first tower over to Uzi. His #1 first tower priority domestically. It just gives him that extra gold bonus heading into the mid game to be that monster that RNG just build around.
Now, for Flash Wolves, though, they still are going to secure that 2nd seed moving into the semifinals, and so this is something I don't want to, necessarily ignore the 6-0 run that they started the group stage with.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, they did have a very impressive run. Obviously, their last couple of days were a lot more rough, but now they're going to be playing up against Kingzone. It's going to be Flash Wolves and Kingzone. Very likely, we're assuming that RNG would pick NA or EU if they win. And we have to remember, Flash Wolves, the one team they were 2-0 against was Kingzone. And while it is a different beast going into best of 5s, that's going to be a good matchup.
And they beat them today. Yeah. The very same Flash Wolves that we just saw lose terribly to RNG actually beat Kingzone in, what was it, 26 minutes?
Right. It was a similar time frame. They just got beat in a similar time frame to the time frame they beat Kingzone in earlier today.
For me, okay, I'm just going to throw out some speculation, some ideas. I know that Flash Wolves and RNG are very close teams. The LMS and the LPL, they scrim all the time. There's also a really good scrim record. It could also be that maybe you take the Western team because you see them as the weakest, but maybe they also do go for Flash Wolves because they think that they know the team so well.
That is gross.
It's true.
That is just gross. I don't know another word to describe the amount of damage.
This is
unfair.
You're not allowed to do that.
I mean, now I'm starting to believe what Frost has been preaching this entire time. Do not. I know it took me this long.
The Church of Uzi. Hallelujah.
I was waiting for some teams to show us the correct response or the way to take down Uzi on one of these champions that he's shown such power on. But I'm starting to believe that unless you remove him from Kai'Sa, Ezreal, and Kog'Maw, you just don't stand a chance.
You actually just have to ban it.
Yeah, and the champions that we're seeing him succeed on are different than the champions we saw a lot of these guys qualify for the tournament on. But the general state of the game, when you looked at the 4 teams that were pre-qualified, you go back to the very start of this tournament, we're thinking, wow, probably the 4 best performing AD carries from those regions were on the victorious teams. And there was going to be this giant showdown to see who was the best. The damage percentages that both Uzi and Double have to put out for their team are MSI group stage records, right? And Uzi has been that much better than every other AD carry, especially if you take out the first 5 games of the tournament. They were undefeated in the 2nd round robin after they've warmed up. 6-0 if you include the tiebreaker. Uzi is the best AD carry in the world right now.
There it is. Hands down. It's been said. All right, let's head over to Shox to see what RNG's mid laner says after that win.
Thank you very much. I'm your Xiaohu from RNG after they locked in first place after group stage. And Xiaohu, congratulations. What a difference between the first phase of the group stage and then the second phase where you've now beat everyone and grabbed #1. How do you think and why do you think you were able to put up such a big performance in the second half of the group stage?
就我们看到你在小组赛前半段、后半段有特别大的改变，包括整支 RNG， 想问一下你们是为什么做出了什么样的改变，能让你们的表现这么样的不同？
我觉得就是我们原本就是拥有这样的实力的吧，因为可能刚来的前几天大家都是比较疲惫的嘛，然后也没有特别多的训练，然后前面可能打的有些不好吧，但是后边就是还是都互相信任对方，然后就调整过来了。
They think they're just playing normal. They think this is how they should perform. The first phase, the first couple of days, they're jet lagged and there's not enough practice and they're not in their best forms. But since they adjusted, they're now in their normal shape, and that's how they performed.
Do you think, in your best form, there is anyone that can keep you from the title?
那你觉得在你们现在这个状态最好的状态下，你觉得有谁可以阻止你们拿到冠军？
说实话的，我是觉得就一个队伍如果连胜的话是非常危险的吧。像闪电狼也是可能连胜之后输一场就会出现一些心态问题吧。 我们现在就是也是要面对最大的敌人，就是觉得是我们自己吧，所以还是要保持一个比较好的心态。
So it's he's a little bit scared after the winning streak because when a team is winning too much, it sometimes get losing up. Like you can see from Flash Wolves, they're now in pretty struggle right now. So he think the biggest enemy is definitely themselves. They have to be prepared for the mentality.
Now that you're #1, you will be able to pick your own opponent out of numbers 3 and 4. Is it a relief that you at least can avoid King Zone until the finals in that case?
那现在因为你们是小组第一，你们有选择权，你们打第3名或第4名，你会不会感觉到有点轻松？这样因为你们可以选择不面对 KZ。
其实这几天打下来的话，我是觉得我们队伍碰到谁都是可以战胜的吧，所以也不会太在意这个选择权嘛。
So after this couple of days of practice and gameplay, he's pretty confident facing against any enemy. So it doesn't really matter if they playing Flash or KZ or anyone else.
Okay, we will see how it turns out. But finally, Xiaohu, I want to ask you about the fan support here in Europe, so far away from home, and yet the entire crowd had RNG signs. What's it been like for you to see all the fan support in Berlin?
虽然我们在这么远但是我们也可以看到特别多现场粉丝来支持 RNG 特别热情。然后想问一下你觉得这个现场怎么样？然后有什么对他们说的？
这个现场就是虽然人数就确实没那么多嘛，但是我就是能够感受到，就欧洲人，包括是从很远赶过来支持我们的中国华人，都是能感受他们的热情的，就是感觉他们就是区几百个人咆哮出来的声音就有几千人那么大吧，就感觉非常的热情。然后赛后包括握手什么的都是觉得非常好的，
It's really happy to.
然后最重要的一点是这边吃的特别好。
So he's really happy about the fans right here. Even though this is not that big of arena, but the energy maybe 200 fans brought with them are tremendous, and they're really happy to see them. And both Chinese fans and also some Western local fans, they all supported him. So he's really happy and grateful for that. And also he mentioned that. He liked the food here, so that's a plus.
That is a plus, indeed. Well, thank you very much, Xiaohu. Congratulations. RNG is going to Paris. That's where we'll see them next. But after the break, we have Fnatic up versus Team Liquid, so don't go anywhere.
Far into this, now looking for Moojin the flash, they've got the open, they've got all of the damage they could possibly need. Mlxg getting the kill on this, and now Xiaohu's here, he's gonna find SwordArt, that could be easy to kill them first, they're going for the front line, and can they get the burst?
Uzi's here!
Not just yet, Uzi joins in from the backside, there's one kill picked up by a drowsy champion,
And go for that farm, so we go.
and they're gonna collapse out of the mid lane, there's the knock, if the kill comes in, Mlxg grabs it for 300 gold, they might get one drowsy, not just yet, they've got SwordArt, the barrier pop, and the kill comes through, and the back lane going to fall, that's Graves, and everyone else just kind of dropping and running away. Give up with this fight, might claim that #1 spot. They've evaporated one. They're going to look for the second. They've got that a double for Uzi, looking for #3. He's going to find it. Can he get more? Royal never give up. Make the run through the back half of the group stage. They will claim the #1 seed, crushing Flash Wolves under their heel.